Hey GED students, it's GED question of the daytime, and I've got a problem that looks a lot trickier than it is. Notice the directions say simplify without a calculator. And what am I simplifying? Well, when you simplify, you obey the signs and symbols, the operands, the operation symbols. This particular operational symbol is a square root. Okay, you see that little check mark house with no number right there? Then you are looking at a square root. So this is telling me to take the square root of 3,600. Now, gee whiz, you might be thinking, Kate, I never learned how to do these without a calculator. And you're actually right. Square roots are one of the operations that do not have an algorithm. In fact, in the days before calculators, engineering students who had to do square root problems often carried around tables so they could look up square roots on a table of values. I mean, we just don't have a process for doing this. However, let me premise that you have your perfect squares. That is the tool at your disposal, whether you're squaring or you're square rooting. Your perfect squares and your knowledge of perfect squares is really going to help you. So once again, I totally recommend that you have your square roots from 1 squared, 1 times 1, which of course is 1, all the way up to 15 squared. 15 times 15 is 225. I hope that you have those memorized. Now you might be saying, Kate, 3,600 is way bigger than 225. How could memorizing my perfect squares help me in a case like this? Well, this is what I want you to notice. Ignore the zeros for me for a second. Take a look at 36, guys. 36 is a perfect square. I know I could make 36. What number times itself is 36? It's 6, of course. 6 times 6 is 36. And you might say, well, Kate, that isn't 36. It's 3,600. True. And that means that I had some round numbers going on. We know that something that happens when we multiply with zeros at the end of numbers, mainly they do what we call accumulate. They build up. Let me show you what I mean. So 6 squared is 36, but what I argue is if you know 6 squared, you also know 60 squared, 600 squared, and so on and so forth. Let me show you what I mean. Well, what would 60 squared be? Think about what 60 squared means. 60 squared means 60 times 60, and we already know what 6 times 6 is. We're able to multiply the non-zero portions of our numbers. That's 36. And then we know that zeros accumulate when you multiply. So that would end up with 2 zeros. And look right away what we have. 60 squared gave me 3,600. You know what that means? That means the square root of 3,600 will take me right back to what 3,600 was made of. What number times itself is equal to 3,600? It's 60. And if you want to check your answer, it's super easy to check. You just take 60, multiply by itself, and see if it gets you right back to 3,600, and of course it will. Okay, so we have a check there. So be careful. A lot of students forget this concept, and they tell me the square root of 3,600 is 600. They give me 2 zeros to match those 2 zeros on the inside. But this would be really easy to check your work, because it'd be really easy to go, okay, I think it's 600. I can't quite remember what Kate said. Let me check if I'm right. Always check when you do these square roots. So what does 600 mean? It means to take 600 and multiply it by itself. That's what 600 squared means, sorry. So 6 times 6 is 36, and then zeros accumulate. 1, 2, 3, 4. Way too big. So if you're the student who forgets and tells me 600, a quick check would easily tell you you were too large. And we can see that the answer here really is 60. Okay, so what is the square root of 3,600? It is 60. If you have any questions about this or any other GED math topic, be sure to drop it in the comments and I'll do my best to answer it.